Okay, so my internet is running fairly slowly, so I'm not going to stream um, from the house party channel. So it's just me today, and we're watching a very exciting Crazy House candidates match. It's fire meets fire. Jasugi99 against xuanet. So here goes. Uh, 12 team. Now Jasugi99 started with d4, so it's a d4 d5 game. Xuanet's gone for a fianchetto setup. And Katas in the chat thought that a6 here was a bit of a waste of a tempo. Pressure on d5 here, takes f6, takes d5, just so that's why Shran's defending with c6. Takes on d5 anyway because of knight at c7 at the end of the line. Ooh, knight at c7, takes. Interesting. So he gets, and so that's where we are at the moment. Oh no, we're not quite there because he has to defend g2. More pressure on g2. And we're up to the live position, and let's just catch up with the chat. So they're thinking queen f8 to try and deflect the bishop. So you then have knight takes pawn ideas. And if the king ever comes to g7, there's knight takes rook. And if it doesn't come to g7, then... Okay, so that was one. So queen f8 was one way of approaching the situation. He's going instead for bishop h6. So again, same idea. If bishop takes, knight takes. And notice now knight takes f6 is a threat, because if bishop takes f6, then queen at f8 is mating. Rook takes, pawn takes. So this is a dangerous stuff. So knight at f6, king h8 would be forced. Then bishop takes bishop, king takes bishop, knight takes rook, and that's surely also mating. So he has to, oh, he just takes that bishop. Okay, well, we're going to see knight takes pawn coming in, and simply picking up the rook. With the rook and queen now that there's a mating threat, just dumping a rook on f8, takes here, takes, and knight back to f6. Actually, the king could step up. Maybe that doesn't quite work. But also, it's black's move to defend. But yeah, there must have been a mate if black doesn't defend. I'm interested about queen at f8. Is that something? Maybe it's a bit too crazy. Queen at f8, bishop at g7. Okay, so instead he goes for rook at f8. Okay, so the threat again is just to take. And actually you can't defend that knight, because knight at f6 just gets taken. So rook takes g8 is coming, and I can't see how black stops it. Any f3 check, you just take it, and you take even with the queen. Okay, so we are going to get a queen here, and bishop at g7 is basically impossible to stop. Hi there, Iron Juggle. Who are you on Lichess? So hang on, he didn't take immediately. What did he do? He threw in a check and then took. Okay. Oh, so he says that previous position he made the opponent waste a pawn on g7. Okay. Okay, so this position we see a Scandi and queen, a very quick queen e6 and then queen g6. Yeah, so I'm familiar with queen e6 to g6 after bishop e2, because then g2 is undefended. I'm not sure what the theory is after queen e2. In these sorts of positions, it's a kind of, if I remember correctly, because this is about a year ago, it's a kind of position where whoever takes gets a slight disadvantage because you waste time, the opponent gets to develop. So I think going immediately to g6 is definitely unusual. And Jasugi really stepping out of opening theory with king d8 here to defend this pawn. And I was just seeing in the chat in the last game, they said in the opening, I think xuanet was doing quite well as black in game 1. But I can't remember the exact position. Bishop e6. Bishop e6 was... Remember the d5... It was all about the d5 pawn that first game. So shoring up that d5 pawn, which he took everything and then won the queen for a piece. So Iron Dougal says, I'm subconscious on Lichess. Was in chat with you during Jan versus Oppa earlier. Oh yeah, hi there, subconscious. Yes, I've played against you, I think, a long time ago. And Katas says, oh nice, okay, so indeed, I'm streaming on Twitch. I wonder if Lichess has recognized that I'm streaming on Twitch. I just check. Yeah, it's recognized. The match is on. Okay. So what's the point of this? I guess just moving the queen out of the way. It's kind of the point is the queens in the middle of the board are liabilities because the opponent can put pieces on with tempo attacking them. Hi there, Katask in the Twitch chat as well. So, what is xuanet contemplating? Could he be contemplating a sack on c7? I don't see any good follow-up. Only got pawns in hand. So probably just trying to look threatening. Oh, he wants to sack on c7. Okay. No, none of this just looks threatening. But I think at some point, black just develops and comes back down to c8. Surely he hasn't got anything to worry about. Oh, and hi there, Chuck Moulton, who's been doing 8-hour streams. I noticed. So ever energetic. Katas says he does not like black's position. And G Rogers has explained G Rogers 6B in the comments just means move 6, black to move. Oh, and hi National Master, I was in electric. In the Lichess chat. I'm not sure who that is, but hi there. So yeah, this king is very uncomfortable because if white ever gets like a... It's not even if white... The point is that the king is stranded in the middle of the board. Okay, you have to take the queen and then probably just defend that knight is the thing to do. Just defend the knight and try and... with the move like a4. And then, well... Yeah, but this is better because now you have the a4 square for a knight. So the threat is knight a4, king h6. No, that doesn't quite work. Knight c7 double check, king h7 at g6, king g8, and suddenly the king would be actually running away. So what is the actual... So I'm sure there is something here. So is there a mate? That's really the issue. Knight takes d4. So he's given himself another square on c6 as well. So this is to run this way. So it may be white sacked too hard here if there isn't a mate. Is there a mate? So yeah, so you couldn't go queen takes c2 immediately. Well, there's this, but queen could take back. So okay, so now the king... White's got two knights in hand, and black's got a king in the middle of the board, but I can't see the finish. It's only one pawn in hand, the bishop could even take it, but then knight here takes back, so that's probably... Oh, I don't think that was good. Oh, okay. So he wants to take... He always has knight takes bishop with check, which is quite nice, I think. So I think White's... He's got knight takes bishop with check, and then he's got a pawn, knight, and bishop. And again, can he do anything with pawn, knight, and bishop? I mean, the point is White is actually safe for the moment, so... This is interesting, actually, because I'm concerned even of ideas like queen takes g2. Maybe no, that's too aggressive. Obviously, if bishop here, queen takes g2. So why not just bishop at e2? Bishop at e2 is... So what I'm thinking, are there any nasty smother ideas? There obviously was something, because he didn't play it. Knight, pawn takes... I can't see it, though. Oh, knight... Oh, yeah, that's a check. So as long as we're keeping check, that's still okay. But White's going to have to defend at some point. He's only got a pawn to attack with. I like rook here because it threatened this check picking up the queen. Whereas now the king's on a dark square. It's not quite so. Yeah, you have got this check, and you could probably then take a pawn or something. But again, a pawn. Hang on, maybe that would have been something. Pawn here, check. You know, knight here, king here. Yes, there's still nothing maybe. But of course, this is just going to be trouble. Yeah, rook and knight here is checkmate. Oh no, sorry, whoa. That was just checkmate straight away. Yeah, rook there was checkmate. Okay, so we have game 3, and Jasugi99 has taken a 2-love lead. And we have a repeat of the line in game 1. And we again have this move a6 once White has already committed putting his bishop on d3, which is why Katas said, I think it's a waste of a tempo. Like, the bishop had no intention of going here. So, and what we saw in the last game is bishop e6, someone said, was important for black, instead of c6, I imagine. So we're just repeating exactly the same line from game 1, except in game 1 this happened, and knight here check came anyway. Bishop takes, and then he took the queen. On the subject of a3, a6, I've noticed GSVC at some point had very good record as black in certain CWC matches, and so when it came to his turn to play white, he just played move 1, a3, just so it was as if he was black that game, and he ended up winning that game. Okay, so bishop e6 was played here. Okay, I think that's good. I think that's a very good move. I can't see... Maybe drop a knight to defend, but then once you drop the knight, you have takes, queen takes, and white's got a bishop, not a knight. So he hasn't got... Yeah, he hasn't got, so knight at f4 didn't work. So that's why he moves his knight to f4. So black has got actually a really nice position here, I think. A knight and bishop in hand versus 2 pawns and a knight in hand. So a nice position given that he's black, let's say, at least. Oh, I think there's too much... No, there isn't. There isn't enough cover, yeah, so this is a better defense. So the question is how to break through. So subconscious says d4, bishop g5. That is sort of d4 theory. So he's wondering if, in the chat, if 12-teen is avoiding normal theory because he knows he's going to be the challenger and wants to show off as little of his prep as possible. I don't think he really... So I don't think 12-teen has prep, but he just knows the theory, just because he's played a lot. Yeah, and as you said, he's not really a prep-oriented player at all. And in a way, Opera isn't either. He tries to avoid... That doesn't really play the main line of the main line. He will veer off course a lot, deliberately. I think with all these top, really top experienced players like xuanet and Jasugi99, so even if they're not theoretical players, they know. They play more theoretically than, say, the average 2200, maybe, just simply because the best moves are theoretical and they just tend to play the best moves. So what do I think about this position? Somehow black managed to break it. So there's the problem is how to break in. So this is black's answer for how to break in on the queen side. Interesting. And he got a pawn out of it, so that's also interesting. But lost a piece, but he's got a weakness on g2. So he's got an in, as it were, and if only he can get hold of that knight on f4 and stick it on h3, he's got mate. That would be a naive plan. Or to get hold of a rook somehow. But no, he's got nothing in hand. So, and it's Jasugi to move. I mean, there are just moves like this knight here takes here. Is that completely stupid? I guess this is coming. There might be a case for just hiding material as well. I mean, I guess it's too dangerous to just hide material. I was thinking whether this knight... Is this knight a danger? Because black can always take a knight, and so if he could ever... He just needs to... So something like pawn here, and even if knight takes bishop, take this knight, and it's an immediate mate threat here. No, but then the knight would just come back. Oh, no, it can't, because pawn takes. Okay, so... Yeah, Jasugi99 obviously prioritizing dismantling this structure. And how do you dismantle a structure? You target the most... the root of the structure, and the root of the structure is on f3. So, and I think it's going to be in xuanet's interest to keep that. Oh wow, I hadn't seen that. So with that move, he gets a knight, and he's going to try and get a rook for h1. That's the strategy. Get a rook for h1 or get a knight for h3. Knights are looking hard to get hold of, so okay, with this move, just everything's blocked off. There's got to be a faster way. I don't see what don't see h5 doing it. Had to be something more direct. Okay, I understand now what h5 is about. It was about opening up this rook file. Okay, that's not so stupid at all. In fact, it's great. Great move. Hi there, Blunderman. He's already calling a white win in this position. White's managed to suck up a lot of pressure, but yeah. And the time situation both under 30 seconds, so that's a nice move, that check, because it was also a defensive move. The knight's defending this square. Suddenly the queen's running over to the queen side, and it's actually very safe. Look at this wall of pawns. Okay, and so I'm saying, I think Blunderman is right that this is looking really quite nice for white. So black's having to defend. So the threat is to take on d6, I imagine. Take on d6, and if ever this becomes available, drop a pawn here. Exactly, and that's what happens. And in the meantime, just look at that king, just chilling on d2 behind a wall of pawns. Black's got nothing. Still defending. Takes, and then if there's not an immediate breakthrough, yeah, I don't see an immediate breakthrough, just keep... I was thinking, yeah, I think this is better than what I was thinking. Rook on the back rank, but this is even better. Yep, so the only slight threat is knight f1, but even the bishop's actually covering that. Ooh, he wants the knight. Okay, so why does he want a knight? He wants it for g5. Would that mate? Knight at g5. Knight at g5, king h8, knight here, king here, knight takes rook, and then I think that's everything. Knight takes rook, bishop takes. I think then there's probably a mate there at the end. Maybe there's something more direct even, but I don't see it. And if king goes to g8 that game, if I just open up that final position, if pawn takes queen, knight g5, king g8, I think you're putting a pawn on f7, and that's going to be trouble. Oh, there's also promote. If after king g8, just simply promote to e8. That's also not. So even if king h8 promote, and then knight at f7, king g8. Yeah, knight takes. I can't see the mate through to the end, but it's trouble. So I think yeah. So both players are repeating openings because now it's 3-love, and in game 4 we're repeating the game in game 2, except we've seen a change. So xuanet is putting his bishop on b5 instead of that game where he put his queen on a5, if I remember correctly. It was queen a5, knight f6, queen a4 was how that game went. But Jasugi99 is, well, hang on a second, haven't you just given me a free rook? What are you up to? And okay, we're going to see what is xuanet up to here. Ooh, hang on. Whoa. Was knight d5 something here? Knight d5. Oh, I see. It wasn't because the queen's defending knight d5. So that's a pain. Yeah. So if the queen weren't defending knight d5, you have knight d5, king d8, and pawn at c7 is checkmate. But oh my gosh, there's no knight d5 because of that queen is actually defending. And now here there's no blockers, so you either have to run, which is just, oh, this is, no. Oh, this is terrible. Just even chilling, so you got no knight even for here. Oh, that was a slaughter. Okay, that is going to be, that's the kind of game you don't want. That really kills your morale, that kind of game. Or it's a sign of not being in great shape. Okay, so we see a shift up from Jasugi99 in the opening, so obviously he wasn't happy how the last game as white went, which is fair enough, although he somehow won it. And this time he's gone for bishop to f4 instead of to g5. And again, xuanet's opted for this very safe setup with g6, h6. Sometimes people even put their knight on g8 to further defend. I was really just defending everything, so trying to discourage sacks. He could take and put a knight back here and just question this pawn, how are you going to defend it? But instead, he goes king h1. So he's asking to be attacked on light squares, by the way, by putting his king on a light square. But it does secure your king from certain knight h3 attacks, I guess. And it secures your king if ever this pawn from attacks sort of ever on e3, which might come in on g1. But I don't know, king h1 feels premature, but maybe it's he might be seeing 10 moves ahead. That and I mean, I think if you look 10 moves ahead, I think it is actually a valuable move. Although it is rather asking for a light square attack on that king. If black can ever get pawns to do that attack. Okay, now this pressure on h6 is actually quite annoying. Ah, this h6 square is hard to... So 12-team is actually outplaying xuanet positionally here with this. He's created a weakness and he's just, trying to get a pawn to stick on h6. And wasn't there a case for g5 here? I guess, yeah, if bishop takes, knight takes, so you're never creating a weakness on h6. Seems fine. But again, you'd want to secure up this diagonal, but maybe there's the problem is bishop d3 at some point. But I think you had time to play that. Instead, he's given away that pawn and his queen's under attack. I don't know. This doesn't feel right from xuanet. And you're just attacking that queen again. I mean, this is... I feel it's too desperate. Oh no, maybe it's not. Hang on, you've got to be careful here. Knight takes queen. Takes, king takes, pawn here, king here. And say black doesn't have another pawn to mate. Maybe that is too risky. So... But doing this, you're inviting takes, takes, and another pawn at h3. It's just automatic. But maybe pawn h3, maybe you can just take the queen. Let's have a think. Okay, takes the knight. So what I think about that sort of situation, when you're taking a piece, you have to think, what's my use for that piece? And notice that he's not going to use the knight. So logically he could have taken on g2 first and then taken a knight, but that just transposes. But just logically, that would be more correct, unless there was some, idea the rook had after bishop takes knight. No, I don't know. But clearly he did have intentions for the knight, so... And of course the danger with this is that knight, the bishop is the key defensive piece for black, so black can't really give up very much material while he's getting mated. I mean, even something as simple as knight h6 is mate for white, a rook at h8 is mate, so let's look at the Twitch chat. I'm seeing lots of things. Why did Blunderman change his name? He closed 12-teen account for about a month and a half or 2 months, and instead of asking Lichess to reopen it, which would have been the best thing to do, he just set up a new account, Jasugi99, which he kept secret for another few months until. So that, yeah, that's why he was just playing anonymously, and then it became public knowledge again that it was him. I mean, it's pretty obvious from his play it's him as well. So what is a Jasugi? I've got no idea. And Blunderman says, I would have taken back on g2 with the king. Ah, interesting. On second thought, I'd not. Didn't say bishop h3 check. Yes. Yeah, maybe not. So what actually happened in this game is... Remember, we're in this position where black loses anything they're done for. Loses any piece, like any rook, any knight, they're done for. Unless they defend. And xuanet is low on time. Okay. Ooh. Okay, why can't I take that? Just take? I have to take, so what now? I have to block? Okay, it was a defensive move. Okay, well, pawn at f6, defend back, quick, quick, quick. Okay, knight f6, no, so that makes sense. Maybe the knight was not doing much on h7, maybe. But suddenly black's having to rebuild the attack, and he just resigns. Yeah, things like this, bishop takes knight, check. Yeah, it's not good. So that did not work well. Okay, he needs to get the right move here. I don't know if queen e5 is correct. Well, I think it must be correct. If you're inciting king d8, I think you should be happy. But now white has to find a better move. Gee, Rogers, that was a nice clean up last game. Yeah, indeed. So the last one, 12-teen, by the way, Blunderman, was a play on 11-teen, who was a famous player on Fix, who on Lichess was All You Need Is Luft. And so it was just saying I'm one better than All You Need Is Luft, because he's 11-teen, I'm 12-teen. But what I thought about it was, you know how 17, 18, well 12-teen means 22. And what I think is quite funny is the whole time that Jasugi was 12-teen, he was actually younger than 22. He's just a kid. Ah, so Flourish has answers. Flourish has answers. Jasugi is a portmanteau of Jianak, his first name, and sugar, Ya Shug, which is, in his words, the only thing sweeter than him. So Ya Su, Yanak Aratramani, so Ya Shuga, Ya Sugar. Okay, that's it then. Flourish is a reliable source, yes. So in this game, how did white solve the puzzle? Okay, he went knight e5, immediately threatening queen takes c7, and that's a mate threat, by the way, because you go queen takes bishop, knight here, checkmate. So, oh, nice attacking move defending c7. Tries to chase him away. So again, that's a mate threat. Queen takes bishop, you're mating on c7. So he does this. Again, tries to deflect this queen. He does this, this, and unfortunately, white has been forced to trade. And I said in these sorts of situations, whoever's forced to trade just loses a tiny bit of their advantage because the opponent gets to develop their pieces. Gets sort of an extra tempo to develop. Having said that, let's see, who is actually doing better here? I mean, there are lots of holes on this queen side, but actually they're all quite well covered. This file is open on the king, so there's a slight weakness there. And Blunderman says, Flourish is a reliable source on favourite colours. Yes, and that's a reference to the Crazyhouse World Championship commentary from 2018 when Flourish and Antic teamed up in a legendary stream, which was sadly never repeated. So it was one of Flourish and Antic used to play each other a lot on Lichess in the good old days and have these epic battles. and they decided let's chat with each other during the World Championship. Okay, so that's hitting the knight and also just generally being a nice defensive move, but I mean, any queen out in the open is liable to be attacked, and it will be. I'm just laughing at David's. Jasugi play is more straightforward, like trying to play the best computer line based on his thousands of games with Katask. Not really playing for tricks, just knows the ideas of the main lines. And tens of thousands of games with Bughouse. Yes. And Flourish says, I blame Antic for it never being repeated. Yeah, Antic sadly gave up Crazyhouse pretty much since. Good year, 2018. Yes, in fact, the 1 year when I actually properly documented the Crazyhouse World Championship on the Crazyhouse blog. So I know it's a good opportunity to just spam the link for the Crazyhouse blog, because in the top of that you'll get like about 10 blog posts of the 2018 Crazyhouse World Championship. I did some recaps of 2019 as well, but I haven't managed to do anything for 2020. Reflores then says, remember life before COVID. What a treat. Yes. And as Flourish says in the Lichess chat, he's cheesy bread on fix. Okay, but he's getting chased about a bit this game. A lot of holes in White's position, but just feels like White controls the. I mean, this is very naive, but he has all his pieces out. He's controlling the board. He was trying to stop this, which is maybe Black's only aggressive move. It feels slow, but maybe that's all. That seems fine. So you can't attack every move, and there was no obvious attack square. So yeah, how do I attack a king? Remember, a king stuck in the center. So it's a king stuck in the center. How does xuanet attack it? With only 23 seconds on the clock. That's a nice move, really nice move. Just simply threatening at g5. Like, it's such a nice move. I literally can't see anything apart from just hiding the queen away. Okay, that's a better way of dealing with things. That's very nice, in fact, because then if you takes here, completely missed that. Wow, and so what a great counterattack, actually. Yeah, I was thinking at g5, how do I stop it? And he turned it into a huge counterattack. Okay, he's giving up the queen. He doesn't want to lose this. Oh, now the queen is trapped, though. But at a cost. So if knight takes knight, knight takes bishop. Yes. Things are getting complicated. With only 4 seconds on the clock, what do I do? And knight takes bishop also came with check, and the queen can now even survive. Ouch. Okay. Yeah, you hit it again, absolutely, yes. Takes. Oof, so king here, knight here is mate. Ouch, ouch. That was painful. Painful. I mean, painful because xuanet was doing quite nicely that game. And that takes the match score to 6-love, but it's not a best-of game in the candidates. It's 10 games, and every game counts towards your overall score. Flourish says, do you guys think there'd be an interest in a mini documentary on Crazyhouse? So, I mean, I've done a 3-hour history of Crazyhouse, what you could call a documentary, on my YouTube. Starting from, but like no one watches 3-hour videos, but yeah. But starting from it was invented by Alex Randolph probably in the 60s, inspired by shogi. It was probably reinvented many times by other people as well. This is a really nice move, by the way, this just stopping black from castling. Black doesn't have any pawn to block off this diagonal even. It's a really powerful. To actually when there was an over the board Crazyhouse event, I discussed that as well in 1982, I think 1981, 1982 in London, organised by Raymond Keane, the Grand Master, and that event was won by International Master Chandler, who was then International Master, later became again a British another British Grandmaster. And then I don't know much about the fixed days and the Mewis days. I think the first online chess was on some Middle Eastern variant server called MEWIS. And I go through some of the games in the 1980s tournament actually, so it's not all history. It's actually there's quite a bit of Crazyhouse as well in that stream I did. But it wasn't, yeah, it wasn't sort of okay. So this was an interesting defending with the queen. The problem is if the queen takes here, there's even just like I'm wondering about knight here, check, and then take the queen. Maybe that's not, no, that's... Okay, this is getting confusing. I think I was talking nonsense there, but I wasn't sure if queen takes, yeah. So this is just looking, this is a disaster zone for black. So the weakness of, let's just backtrack. I think it's going to be instructive. How did the weaknesses get so bad in black's position here? It looks like an ordinary position. Everything's really secure. Okay, yeah, d2 is a weakness. So d2 is a weakness and you lose the queen. Oh, that was a killing move on the dark squares. And then the reason he exploits the dark squares, he hits c7. c7 is the only piece hitting the dark squares. That's how much he wanted that bishop. He just sacks his queen to get that bishop, but it's just going to be bad. It's going to turn out bad. King takes knight, knight comes in, queen here, king takes, and sort of like bishop here, takes, knight takes, bishop takes, knight, king takes, and it's not exactly mate yet, but there is... Okay, so he opts to defend the knight before... I think putting the queen here was surely mating. But yeah, this is going to be knight takes queen coming next. Again, no mate, but it's just devastating. So Flourish was actually saying, I've become obsessed recently with obscure, dramatic mini-documentaries and think Crazyhouse would be a perfect example if the right storyline can be found. Maybe Jan Lee giving up the throne to 12 teen. But that never happened. Jan Lee never gave up the throne to 12 teen. So Jan Lee won the 2017 World Championship. So my history doesn't really get into the modern stuff so much. But he won 2017, then Oppa won 2018. 2019, the Bullet event was also won by Oppa, and so the current match is going to be between Oppa and probably Jasugi99. And Baku says, I'd watch a documentary on Jan Lee specifically. Yeah, that hasn't been done. And Blunderman is wondering, tell me about these obscure dramatic mini documentaries. Yeah. I found a series just last night on Prime Video, so it's free if you have Amazon Prime, called The Naked Archaeologist. And I'm not sure if it's good or not. I just saw the first episode of the first series, which is quite interesting. But so I'm sure there are lots of informative documentaries like that, but nothing. But that was quite funny because it was about the Philistines and how the Philistines have a bad rap because from the Bible, but the Philistines were much more advanced, peoples in their day, ironically. But because they weren't because the victors write history, and they they were probably. I mean, I wonder. So they were probably came from Greece, but it makes me wonder. I wonder if the Israelites also originally came from Greece. Okay, so the counterattack comes from from um, from xuanet, but surely is not enough. Yeah. So white, he knew he was safe, but now it's time to find mate. I can't see it actually. This bishop's doing a great job defending. Where's the mate? Okay, I mean this is a starter. Knight takes bishop. Okay, that'll clear away the defender. Yeah, now I think I can see the mate. Okay, he goes another way. Knight takes bishop, I was thinking, and then rook at f7 would have probably done it. If the king runs this way, queen. Oh no, the queen here doesn't work. But yeah, something. This this knight is doing a good job defending as well. You get exactly. You need to go right in and get a queen on c7, and then that's checkmate. Yeah, c7 and queen takes. The king eventually runs to a8, I think, and then queen takes. Okay, we're seeing complete repetition of lines this whole series. It's funny because xuanet, I think, is getting okay positions in the opening, which is why he's repeating the lines. Because normally, if you lose 7 games in a row, you'd definitely mix up your openings, but I don't think the opening is the problem. Kata says, geez, Jasugi is strong. Yes, I mean, so historically 41-21, so 2-to-1 ratio against xuanet. Okay, I don't know what messages or challenges I've got, but if people are watching the stream, this is a commentary video on the Crazyhouse World Championship candidates match, so obviously I can't take challenges or read messages, because that's not what my viewers want. They want to see Crazyhouse. So if you're reading the chat, that's why I can't pick up. If you're listening to the stream. Okay, so this has gone too quickly. This. So he throws in a check. He backs off. He wants a queen. He's going for queen at d8 mate. So this is how you beat 1500s. You go for queen at d8 mate. Okay. And what's the follow up? Still. Okay, I can't see. Maybe there's no. So this is nice. You win a pawn. There's no threat, is there? Yeah, there's no immediate threat, but Jasugi99 is going for his own 1500 mate, which is queen at c1, queen at f1 rather. And the knight was under attack, and yeah, the point is you can't defend the mate and defend the knight, so the knight has to go desperado just to get something for his efforts. And I imagine d3, because you want to combine defense with actually getting some development. Oh, I'm not sure about that, because it doesn't defend this, and your queen is now very exposed. Okay, I guess you can still do this, because the queen is, yeah, even just this, yeah. The queen is exposed means that move, dropping the queen here, really allows black to put on pieces with tempo. So just d3 surely was fine. But okay, maybe he needed the extra defender and I missed something. MCP Knight in Lichess chat says, chess reveals weakness in one's thinking, a scary fact. That's a deep thought for the day. It reminds me of the story of a Chinese emperor who used to challenge a minister to chess, whom he just met, just so he could assess his thinking. Is he aggressive? Is he defensive? I think it depends on the game, though. I mean, in standard chess, traditionally, I'd be very defensive. When it comes to Crazyhouse, I feel I'm too aggressive. So, um, but I think the most important lesson of chess, of all the lessons, is what is your opponent thinking of doing? And that's a really good lesson, because in life and in everything, we're always thinking about what we're thinking of doing, what we want. What do I need to do? And we're not thinking, what do other people need? So, although that's normally a sort of generous thing of what do other people need? What can I do for other people? That would be the generous version of that. And so I guess in chess that's being turned around of what does he want? Let me do something to stop it. But it's still that's a very important. So whether you're being generous or whether you're trying to stop the person getting what he wants, I think that's a really important skill to be able to think what to think from other people's point of view. Okay, so black just took all the material there, and it's 8 love. Blunderman says chess mastery through empathy. Well, it is the most important skill. You have to be empathetic for what your opponent wants, and then you stop it in chess. Okay, I was expecting a pile up along this diagonal, but instead this. And I guess the point is he doesn't mind. He doesn't mind doubling pawns. Having said that, I don't get it, because he can't take with this pawn, because then there's knight takes here. So if I just step back to this position here, well, I mean, there's probably like a theoretical opening reason why you can't. Oh, bishop takes bishop. What's white's move against bishop takes bishop? Because if you go pawn takes, there's knight takes pawn. So, and if you go this pawn takes, then yeah, maybe go that pawn takes. But I don't know. I'm wondering if that was a theoretical. What if they were following something theoretical, or whether there was something missed. And IMC Jebs in the chat, another strong player, I think. I'm not quite, can't remember who you are again. If you can remind me who you are in Lee Chess. But says Jasugi is just too fast. Yeah, he is. He is cracking out these moves. I think he knows what he's doing for now. I mean, it's all been. It's just playing very natural moves basically. So he knows what he's doing. I mean, the reason he goes Rook C1, I think he wants a knight. He wants a knight, so he was thinking Rook takes bishop and knight here. He's thinking ahead. But of course, if the queen takes, maybe he wants something else. Maybe put a knight here and pawn takes, and I don't know. On the subject, since the Lee Chess chat is getting political, so on the subject of, he's allowed Rook takes bishop. That can't be good. On the subject of public information broadcasts, I heard that there's something called QAnon, which is going on the rampage in America. There's just crazy conspiracy theories that have no basis in reality, and they're just basically what I just read about them is they're basically just a rewrite. Okay, takes the knight first. So notice queen takes is a good idea. What doesn't? Queen takes is a good idea because it defends f6, I think. Because otherwise rook takes bishop, pawn takes knight at f6 is a problem. What I discovered is they're just a rewrite for modern times of the Protocols of the Elders of Zion, which was an anti-Semitic tract from the 1920s. So the QAnon conspiracy theory isn't about any particular kind of people, but any particular group of people, but it's the same conspiracy theory of there's some rich people controlling the world. And just like people are saying in the chat about Soros, that's just the same QAnon nonsense. The whole conspiracy theory of Bill Gates, Soros, this, that, and the other. People just want to invent stuff. You know, these people are dislikable because they're rich and they want to get you. Oh, I think that was really smart from xuanet not taking that rook. But what does he have? I said it was really smart, but like if you can get away with it. But what does he have? Queen takes rook. Okay, queen. Exactly. Take the rook when he needs it. Okay. And if bishop takes queen, this would be genius if he has something. Knight takes pawn. But the king could just step back. Rook here, king here. There's nothing. There is nothing, right? But maybe it's just defending for the moment. Oh, hang on, hang on. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Bishop takes queen. Rook here. King here. I think there's some mate here or something that he was scared of, but I can't see it. But he doesn't take the queen, so he respects whatever xuanet was up to. Opperwazen says 0-1 for sure. xuanet seems winning, people are saying. I don't see it. Takes h3, allowed entry. Okay, I don't see it. Like, okay, so rook here, rook here, king here. What's the finish though? Okay, the knight takes pawn is interesting. Baku says, what conspiracy? So the conspiracy going around for the last... there's something called QAnon, and it's basically about the establishment eats babies, and they're controlling everything, and they're going to kill everyone with the vaccine, and I don't know, all kinds of complete nonsense. And the only person who can save us is our current president of America. I mean, absolute nonsense. Like literally, you want to choose the biggest. Yeah. Anyway, I don't want to get into politics, so I'm not going to say more. But it is just it's not an anti-Semitic conspiracy theory, but it's a repackaging of an anti-Semitic conspiracy theory for the modern day. Well, now, what has White got? Mate, this is just insane. It's just he had 3 knights, but he could have just taken the knights. I want to check that last game, but I don't want to detract from the live action. So, what to do? Let's put that game in another tab, and we're definitely going to try and see what happened there. That was just a Blunderman says something about children's livers containing a COVID cure, and Trump is the Messiah. It's all kinds of nonsense like that. What it is, it's like, yeah. And if someone who believes in this stuff and you just said, oh, that's nonsense, they'll say, yeah, but that's not the real thing. It's something else. You know, it's the thing with people who come up with conspiracy theories. It takes a lot more effort just debunking all the nonsense they have to say one by one than coming up with new nonsense. It's very easy to come up with new nonsense all the time. Okay, again, this is looking interesting. I mean, knight takes pawn is not quite enough. Like, knight takes pawn, queen takes knight, queen takes queen, king takes. You just have got a queen in hand. You haven't got quite enough to mate. So we're going to see there's another line where this white's just trying to deflect this queen away, because then he has queen takes c7, queen takes bishop, knight c7, checkmate. So, and we saw this last time. The queen comes back and tries to just trade off queens. Is there anything? So Residual Insight says, you don't think people might actually be looking to consolidate their control. I mean, they're hitting all the small businesses. It will pretty soon be only the juggernauts will survive. And you didn't look into the thing itself. You just read about it. That's true, and that's been going on for like decades. The big, not only big corporations, but big um, big countries. You know, the rich countries try to consolidate their power. Absolutely, and that's not new, and that's not some crazy conspiracy theory, and that's not something that the current president of America has done anything to stop. On the contrary, he's fed lots of money to the big corporations at the expense of small businesses. Um, so Bish takes Queen. It seems good. And Residual Insight, again, you're absolutely right. It's not just countries; it's global agendas. Absolutely, um, there are global corporations and groups of corporations that have been setting the agenda for decades, literally for decades, and that's basically how the world um, has been working for decades. Um, so uh, it's good to notice White does have a threat of this with this checkmate and then takes knight. So that's what Black has to try and think about stopping. Quite an interesting game actually, but maybe something simple will do the trick. No, I mean, in fact, I mean one of the most telling things, just like if you look at like the progress of history, is just when the third world countries get their political freedoms, they lose their freedoms again because the international rules are rewritten. And just when the blacks in America get the right to vote, they get they get put in prisons in record numbers. So so absolutely, the rules are being written not to favour the rich elites. Absolutely, and this is how it's always been. You just need to read people like I don't know, probably people like Chomsky had a lot to say about this. Oh, he's just walked into trouble. That's going to hurt because this king is safe. And Residual Insight is saying about social networks being used. Yeah, so I was actually thinking, you know how in the olden days um, there'd be someone suppose it'd be like there'd be someone in a village or in a town who would collect gossip from one person and then go to a party with another person and spread it. And then because they were spreading all the gossip, they'd be the most popular person in the village because everyone would go to them to hear the latest gossip. Well, nowadays, the village gossip has been replaced by a global network. Um, and this information is enormously valuable. People think, oh, it's not valuable information. It turns out, oh, that's a good move. Because it wasn't bishop takes knight, knight takes here. Oh, I see, nice. Because bishop takes knight, pawn takes knight. It's suddenly this information is so valuable that it's like a multi-billion-pound industry. Literally what um, yeah. So what subconscious says IR and juggle is absolutely is basically my point of view is countries and corporations have way too much power. But QAnon is actually to be honest. If I was saying what is it, it's basically the corporations themselves who have too much power, kind of making conspiracy theories against themselves to just um, to undermine like all credibility in the people who are actually okay. Does Schwanert have anything here? Just pawns. Just pawns. Is that enough? It isn't, is it? King comes here and is safe, and white resigns. Not enough material in hand. Yeah, so, and as Blunderman says, back in the days you did not have stuff like Cambridge Analytica. And Blunderman says, and people writing algorithms to analyze what people are thinking. Yeah, and and because of these algorithms, what we find today is people targeting not just not in the olden days people targeted their supporters and encouraged them to vote. And what I didn't really realize until actually about a week or two ago is how the electorate who doesn't support you is being targeted. So they're literally targeting ads not only at their supporters to make sure they come out and vote or to encourage them to vote, but also at those who are completely against them to try and make sure they don't vote for the other side. So it's the negative advertising um, is a huge thing nowadays in a way that it wasn't so much before. Usually you played for your side, you didn't, and discouraged the person to vote for the other side, vote for me, but you didn't try and try and discourage those who support the other side from going out and voting. That's a big change, I think. And Blunderman says, why do you think they chose Joe Biden? He's acceptable to the Republicans. Yeah, I mean, exactly. He's I mean, what Residual Insight is saying about the big, basically, is that both parties in America are controlled by the corporations, and that's why they chose Joe Biden. It's not that, and oh, hang on a second. So why wasn't there something like pawn here, king here, knight takes pawn? Okay, so actually king here is key, and then there's no continuation because you need that square for the knight. Yeah. So I promised to go back to this game 8, where xuanet was doing really nicely, I thought. And the first question was, why couldn't white just take the queen? And because I'm not a beast like these players, I mean, I did calculate during the game, but I didn't see a mate after knight here. I didn't see a mate after rook here. So what does black do here? Knight takes pawn, king here. Yeah, I didn't. Or else you go knight takes pawn. So knight takes pawn, king here, or rook here, king here. What is the actual? What's the continuation? Oh, I see. Okay, so rook here, king here. Rook takes this pawn. Now it's looking really promising because if you go king back, then there's knight takes pawn and second pawn. Yeah, okay, this is looking concerning. Okay, let's just calculate this again. Rook here, king here. Rook takes pawn, king back. Knight takes pawn, king back again. Pawn here, pawn here, checkmate. That's very nice, actually. But if rook here, rook takes pawn, king here, not so clear. And I'm going to pray for engine to start working. Gosh, you have a second rook. I didn't realize. King g3, rook takes h3. So we figured. Oh, so that's just mate in 1 because we have a second rook. So I was showing some long-winded mate. I couldn't see the mate here. Oh, again, it's because we have a second rook. Okay. So that was a really beautiful mating threat that Jasugi manages to defend, and he does this, and he thinks he's got it, but actually king f1 and the king is getting away. So this is probably the critical point. Bishop takes h3, and if I just take here, we're coming in here, so I can believe that's mate. And if you just take the bishop, then oh yeah, the queen is taking here. So that also looks concerning. But bishop defends h2, so it's not totally straightforward. So if h3, if king takes here, pawn here is checkmate. So if we try and run this way, pawn at g2, and we're sacking a rook. Okay, so this is looking kind of hairy either way, because either way you're going to have to part with your rook, and it's going to be double check, and then there's going to be rook at h2 and bishop takes, queen takes. So if I just show the line, king takes. Sorry, my internet is not working so well. So if king takes knight over queen here is checkmate. So you have to go bishop takes rook first. But then here, here, and bishop here is checkmate. Okay, so that was... So actually, so this position here, bishop takes h3 is important, or knight takes h4, but basically continuing the attack, this actually allowed knight takes. Maybe he didn't spot knight takes as defending h3. That's maybe the key point. So then what happened is the sack back, and this is forced mate. So why can't... Oh yeah, we can't take this because of this. And it's a very nice forced mate with knight here. And the point is, if you take like this, there's this checkmate. So you had to take like you did in the game and get mated on h7, which is rather embarrassing. So this is known as the three knights. If you have three knights and a queen, it's a three knights mate, or CIW mate, I've sometimes called it, because I think I saw it from CIW first, playing it more than once. IMC Jeb says, wouldn't it be rook h2 before queen takes h6? Okay, so rook at h2. But bishop takes, I imagine. What does it want? Yeah, bishop takes. So the whole point is you've deflected that bishop away. Okay, I think we've had did I miss something? I'm now confused. Because I'm seeing 9-0. Did I just leave before the 10th game? I'm very... It was 10-0. Yeah, it was because that tab was opened earlier, and so it didn't update to the latest game. So amazing. I mean, I guess like against like, xuanet and Jasugi99 are they both play with fire, and Jasugi was just the better player. So maybe a bad matchup for xuanet today, and really great play from Jasugi99. Maybe also it'll be interesting just to look at how were the openings of these two players during these games. So if we just, because they did play the same lines quite repetitively. So takes pawn here. I mean, if I just look at the Explorer, yeah, it's not probably already out of book. Even here, where knight f4. Maybe it's been played once by Beruz Fulaidi before, but it's basically out of book. I'm wondering about c6. Yeah, so I'm just going to quickly c6. Yeah, maybe not the best move. c6. And Stockfish is even suggesting just give up that pawn and get on with the development. c6, but okay, but what happens instead is this sack, which is not maybe objectively so good, but the important thing to do in this position is either bishop e6 or bishop at e6. And xuanet, credit to him, he did actually figure that out through his own experimentation during the game. So instead of doing this, he did later go bishop e6 and got some very nice positions. In fact, what happened in game 3 or 5 was white played this, and yeah, so it's game on. Black had a nice position from the opening, so nice play from xuanet. The other position that kept on getting repeated is queen to g6 in this position. I don't think that's the best line in the opening to go queen to g6 immediately. It's the third most played move. Queen to g6, just d4 is good. Yeah, knight f3 is good. But xuanet kept playing this line, queen to e5, which is, now we see, not really very good for white. But I think the reason he did keep playing it is because Jasugi for several games in a row kept playing king d8. Turns out maybe the best move is even just go knight c6 and ditch that pawn and just develop, that's impressive. If that that requires more analysis, but and this is also probably quite good for black. But for many games, he was just going. Oh, it was d6 and then sorry, I got the move order wrong. So Stockfish is suggesting this, and if I take this and claim this is hard to defend, because if you do this, then I'm coming in here. And just saying I'm actually safe because the bishop is defending the key square. Okay, that's interesting. But what happened for several games was king d8, d3, d4. Yeah, and this is quite pleasant for white, with the king stuck in the center that can never castle. But somehow this looks promising, looks aggressive. But maybe the best thing to do is just to continue developing. The direct sack on c7 was not the strongest. Check. Again, it looks really uncomfortable for black, but it wasn't played in the best way. So bishop e3 is an interesting idea, because if you take here, takes here, pawn takes, knight at d7, and the point is this knight is cutting the king off, and if the king were to just slide here, you'd have a simple knight and pawn mate. This is very beautiful. So you have to bite the bullet and push and take here. But the problem with that is then you have pawn takes bishop, and you can't ever step back, or just pawn here checkmates. Pawn here and pawn here checkmates. So you have to step forwards, but if you step forwards, you're still getting mated, just with pawn at b3 and a3. So that would have been a brave move to find in this position. That would be a nice move to find. Saying, you want to take my queen? I've got mate. So I think that's a nice little thing to finish on. So xuanet did get nice positions after the opening, but as Katas said partway through, Jasugi just too strong. Okay, thanks everyone for watching, and this will be up on YouTube later tonight. Just sharing my YouTube, do check it out, and if you like Crazyhouse, do subscribe. Bye everyone, and see you next time.